Welcome to HFY HeroFi, where the ordinary become extraordinary. Here we celebrate the fearless, the champions who rise against impossible odds. From tales of bravery in distant galaxies to the darkest corners of the supernatural, HFY HeroFi brings you the ultimate stories of heroism. If you believe you've been chosen, heed the call and subscribe now. Let us HeroFi you and come with us on our next adventure. Today's adventure is called Fist of Fury. When an alien ship crashes into a party in South Central LA, John Fury strives to save Chantel, the woman he admires, while confronting the alien invaders. Guided by his unwavering faith, John faces a battle that tests his incredible strength and spiritual resolve. The bass pounded like a war drum in the packed house in South Central Los Angeles. Each beat reverberated through the floorboards and up through the soles of John Fury's steel-toed boots. The air was thick with the scent of sweat, cologne, and the faint tang of alcohol. Laughter, conversation, and the rhythmic movement of dancing bodies made the room pulse with life. But John stood apart from it all, arms crossed over his massive chest, his sharp eyes scanning the room like a sentinel. He wasn't here for the party, not really. He had been convinced, or rather coerced, to come. "Bro, you gotta stop acting like you married to the job," his longtime friend Marcus Mace Williams had told him earlier that evening, lounging on John's worn leather couch. He had been munching on hot fries as he watched John do his 1,000th push-up of the day. "You always training, always working. Live a little." John had risen to his feet, his 6'4" frame casting a shadow across the room. "I don't do crowds. You don't do fun either." Mace had smirked, his gold tooth catching the light. "No," John responded. "I just don't like wasting my time on frivolous things." "Oh yeah?" Mace smiled. "Chantel's gonna be there." That had been the bait, and Mace knew it. Chantel Washington wasn't just another pretty face at the church. She was different, a physical therapist who volunteered at the VA, helping broken soldiers piece themselves back together. She had a way about her that made even the hardest veterans open up. "That's low, brother," John had muttered, but they both knew he'd cave. Now watching the party from his corner, John caught glimpses of her through the crowd. She moved with grace, her curly hair swaying as she laughed with friends. Every now and then, their eyes would meet across the room, and she'd give him that smile, the one that made him feel like maybe, just maybe, he might have a chance. Earlier that evening, they had shared a quiet conversation on the porch, away from the pulsing music inside. The night air had been cool against their skin, as he listened to her talk about her work at the VA. "You always look like you're carrying the weight of the world," she had said. She leaned against the railing, a teasing smile softening her words, her dress catching the breeze. "Not as carefree as you were during our high school days," John had chuckled, a deep rumble in his chest. That was a different time. Only had to worry about football and track then, not like now. "Whatever it is, you don't have to carry it alone, you know," she replied, turning to face him fully. "You're out here walking around like you're Samson or something. Strength alone can't get you through all your problems." "I guess that's true," John had said. "Even Samson also had his weakness," John had responded. "And what's yours?" she'd asked, stepping closer. He'd looked down at her then, really looked at her. "Maybe it's thinking I don't need anyone," surprising himself with his openness. Then Mace had burst through the front door, already 3 drinks in. "You people can't be out here being all antisocial," he'd declared, grabbing John's massive arm. "The party's inside." Now that unfinished moment sat in John's chest like a weight. He watched as Chantel danced with her friends, her movements fluid and free. She caught him looking and mouthed, "Come dance," but he just shook his head, smiling. Mace appeared at his side, pressing a bottle of water into his hand. "Man, you really gonna stand here all night like security? Go have fun." "Someone's gotta keep an eye out," John replied. But there was no edge to his voice. His friend meant well. "Eye out for what? Aliens?" Mace laughed. The irony of that statement would hit them both later. The first warning was subtle, a low, eerie hum that sliced through the music and the conversations like a knife through silk. The bottles on the nearby table began to vibrate, and the fan above swayed slightly. "What is this?" Mace slurred. "Jurassic Park?" Mace stomped his feet around the partygoers, making T-Rex noises as he went. "You hear that?" John straightened, his senses already on high alert. Mace frowned. "Hear what?" Then the explosion. A massive invisible force crashed into the house like an unseen wrecking ball. The ceiling erupted in a shower of wooden beams and drywall, sending a fiery shockwave through the house that knocked people off their feet. Walls crumbled like paper. Windows exploded outward in a deadly spray of glass, and screams filled the air as flames began to lick at the splintered walls. Debris rained from above, crushing furniture and people alike. John's reflexes kicked in before his conscious mind could process what was happening. He dove forward, shoving two teenagers out of harm's way as a section of the ceiling collapsed. Where they had just stood, the impact would have killed them instantly. "Everybody out," he roared over the chaos, his voice carrying a command that cut through the panic. "Move now!" People scrambled toward the exits, but some were trapped, pinned under debris or cut off by growing flames. John's tactical mind assessed the situation. 37 people still inside, 4 exits, spreading fire blocking the east side, structural damage to the west. Mace stumbled to his side, his face smeared with blood from a cut above his eye. What the hell was that?" Before John could respond, something shifted in the wreckage, something big. The air seemed to ripple, like heat waves off hot asphalt. But there was a pattern to it, a massive geometric shape becoming visible through some kind of failing camouflage technology. Then, they emerged. At first, they were just shadows in the smoke, hulking figures moving with an unnatural grace that sent chills down even John's spine. Then the flames illuminated them. They were 8 foot tall, creatures with obsidian-like armor plating that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Their glowing red eyes pulsed with an internal energy, and their elongated limbs ended in sharp, serrated claws that looked capable of sawing through steel. Their heads were smooth and featureless except for the burning orbs of their gaze, and they moved with a terrible purpose, assessing, hunting. "What the?" Mace whispered, backing away slowly. "John, tell me I'm seeing things. Tell me somebody spiked my drink." The first scream rang out when one of the aliens lifted a man effortlessly, its claws piercing his torso like a harpoon. The man's eyes went wide with shock and pain, and then a sickening crack followed as the creature tore him in half, blood dripping from its claws. His spine protruded from the bottom of his torso now. His legs were tossed aside like scraps of meat. The room erupted into chaos. People ran screaming, trampling each other in their desperation to escape. Some tried to fight back. John saw someone swing a chair at one of the creatures, only to have it shatter against its armor. "Get these people out," John commanded Mace, his voice deadly calm. "Use the kitchen exit. I'll hold them here," John said. "Hold them? Bro, what are you gonna do?" "Trust me," John said. His voice was quiet but authoritative. It was not a voice you argued with. John stepped forward, rolling his massive shoulders as if warming up for a workout. His eyes locked onto the nearest alien, which had just thrown a screaming woman aside like a rag doll. "You made a mistake," John said, his voice low, powerful, unshaken. His fists clenched as he stepped forward. "Unbeknownst to you, you have opened the doors to an ass-whooping." John launched forward with speed that defied his massive frame, crossing the distance to the nearest alien in a blur of motion. The creature's head tilted slightly, perhaps in surprise, before swinging its bladed arm in a deadly arc aimed at John's throat. But John was already moving, ducking under the strike with fluid grace. His fist connected with the creature's abdomen, and the impact echoed like a shotgun blast through the ruined house. The alien flew backward, its armored body crashing through what remained of the living room wall, and into the yard beyond. "That all you got?" John growled. But his challenge was cut short as another alien lunged at him from behind. He sensed its movement and spun just in time to catch its arm mid-swing. The creature's strength was immense, pushing him down, his boots leaving cracks in the tile floor. "Not today," John grunted. He squeezed the alien's arm, feeling the exoskeleton crack like brittle glass under his enhanced strength. Before it could react, he pivoted, using its own momentum to swing it over his head and slam it into the ground with earth-shattering force. The floor beneath them cratered from the impact. Screams and gunfire erupted from the corner, where several partygoers had drawn weapons. This was South Central, after all. But the bullets hit the aliens' armor like BB gun pellets, hitting their target but falling harmlessly to the ground. "Stop shooting!" John bellowed. "Just get out." His warning came too late. One of the aliens moved with frightening speed, crossing the room in 2 bounds. It grabbed a man who was still firing and prepared to impale him with its other arm. John's hand closed around a broken water pipe from the rubble. In one fluid motion, he hurled it like a javelin, the makeshift spear whistling through the air before driving straight through the alien's neck with a wet crunch. The creature convulsed, its body twitching violently as some kind of black fluid leaked from the wound. Then it slumped, lifeless, releasing its would-be victim. "Get out!" John ordered the armed men. "You'll just get in the way." More aliens descended from the wreckage of their ship, which was now partially visible as a dark mass protruding through the ceiling. The firelight gleamed off their dark armor, and their piercing red eyes locked onto John, identifying him as the primary threat. "Good," he thought. "Focus on me. Give everyone else a chance to escape." He could hear Mace in the background, organizing an evacuation through the kitchen. "This way, move, move, move!" Don't stop for anything. He was a goofball, but John could always count on him. Back when they served together, he always put others before himself, just like he was doing now. The aliens moved as one, surrounding John in a deadly circle. He smiled grimly, cracking his neck. "Finally getting serious, huh?" Then he heard it, the voice that made his blood run cold. "John!" His head snapped toward the scream. "Chantel!" She was trapped beneath a fallen load-bearing beam and debris, struggling as flames crept closer along the wall toward her. One of the aliens was moving toward her too, its claws glistening with fresh blood. Its movements almost casual, a predator confident in its kill. Rage burned inside John, hotter than the fires consuming the house. Time seemed to slow. He saw every detail with crystal clarity. The fear in Chantel's eyes, the alien's claws extending for the kill, the distance between them that no normal human could cross in time. But John Fury wasn't normal. "Lord, give me strength," he roared. His muscles surged with power as he summoned everything within him. The floor cracked beneath his feet as he launched himself forward, crossing the room in a single bound that defied physics. He reached the fallen beam and gripped it with both hands, his biceps bulging as veins stood out on his neck. With a primal scream that shook dust from the remaining ceiling, he lifted the massive wooden beam from the debris pile like it was weightless, hurling it aside. The beam and debris crashed through the wall, taking a section of it with it. John yanked Chantel up just as the alien struck. He spun her behind him and swung a left hook, connecting with the alien's shoulder. The impact sent a shockwave through the room that extinguished nearby flames for a split second before they roared back to life. "You came for the wrong woman," John growled. With a twist of his arms that would have made a normal man's muscles tear, he ripped the alien's arm clean off. Black blood and fluid gushed from the wound, spraying across the room and onto Mace, who had used his body to shield 2 younger partygoers. "Damn, bro," Mace shouted, wiping the alien gore from his face. "You tore that thing up." He looked at the mangled alien body. "Whatever that thing is." The alien screamed, a high metallic shriek that set their teeth on edge. John didn't give it time to recover, still holding its severed arm. He swung it like a club, catching the creature in the head with its own limb, then dropping the makeshift weapon. He grabbed the alien by its neck and drove it headfirst into the ground. The concrete foundation cracked from the impact, spreading like a spider's web. The alien twitched once, then lay still. Chantel stared at him, eyes wide with a mixture of fear, awe, and something else. Understanding. "You saved me." John met her gaze, his voice soft despite the chaos around them. "I'm not letting anyone else die tonight." He touched her cheek gently. "Especially not you." "John," Mace called out, "we got problems, man." John turned back to survey the scene. The house was fully engulfed now, flames racing along the walls and ceiling. Smoke billowed thick and black, making it hard to see more than a few feet ahead. Up ahead, there were 3 remaining aliens. Their armor was shifting, adapting, growing additional plating and what looked like weapons. One raised its arm, which had transformed into some kind of energy cannon. "Get down!" John shouted. The alien fired. A blast of energy cut through the air where John had been standing a split second before. He rolled forward, coming up with a piece of broken marble countertop as the alien prepared to fire again. John hurled the improvised discus with all his strength. It flew true, catching the creature in the neck with such force that the alien's head was literally cut off, the skull spinning away into the flames. The second alien charged, moving faster than any of the others had. It caught John with a glancing blow that would have decapitated a normal person. Even so, John felt blood trickle down his neck. "That's gonna leave a mark," he muttered, dropping into a fighting stance. The alien pressed its advantage, its claws a blur of motion as it struck again and again. John blocked and dodged, looking for an opening. But this one was different, smarter, more tactical. Behind him, he heard Chantel scream a warning. The third alien had circled around, trying to flank him. John was caught between them, and the fire was closing in, reducing their battleground with each passing second. "Time to get to work," John said with a smile. He waited until both aliens charged, then at the last possible moment, stepped nimbly to the side. As the creature's momentum carried them forward, John seized his opportunity. With lightning reflexes, he shot out both arms, grabbing each alien by the head. Using their own forward momentum against them, he slammed their heads together with bone-crushing force. The sound of impact echoed like stone striking stone. Before they could recover from the devastating blow, he was already advancing, ready for his next move. He grabbed the closer one by what passed for its throat and, with a roar that drowned out even the roar of the flames, ripped its head clean off. Black blood sprayed like oil from its neck as its body collapsed. The final alien, the smartest one, took a step back. It watched him, its red eyes pulsing rapidly, calculating, assessing. It took another step back. John stepped forward, his bloody fists clenched. "Running won't save you." The alien turned to flee, but John wasn't playing. He launched himself into the air impossibly high and came down with a devastating hammer fist strike that literally exploded the alien's head like a watermelon. Its body crumpled, twitching, as its life fluids leaked onto the burning floor. "John," Mace's voice cut through the victory. "The ship," he said in between coughs. "Something's happening." The invisible craft, still partially protruding through the ruined roof, was becoming more visible. Its surface rippled with energy, and a high-pitched whine cut through the air. Warning lights began to pulse along its hull. "It's gonna blow," John realized. He turned to where Chantel and Mace stood with the last few survivors. "Let's get out of here." They ran. John brought up the rear, making sure no one was left behind. They had barely made it 20 yards from the house when the ship's energy containment failed. The explosion was like nothing John had ever seen. A sphere of red energy that consumed the entire house and reached into the sky like a pillar of fire. The shockwave knocked them all off their feet. John covered Chantel with his body as debris rained down around them. When the dust settled, the house was simply gone, as were the neighboring houses. In their place was a smoking crater, the edges still glowing with that strange red energy. Sirens wailed in the distance, but they weren't close enough yet. The fire from the explosion had spread to neighboring houses, and people were evacuating the block. John knew they had minutes at most before authorities arrived, but right now, his concern was for the survivors. "Everyone okay?" he called out, helping Chantel to her feet. Various groans and affirmatives answered him. Mace limped over, clutching his ribs. "Bro, what the hell are you? I always knew you were strong, but that was next level." Before John could answer, Chantel touched his arm. "That wasn't just you out there, was it?" Her eyes searched his, not with fear, but with understanding. John exhaled, looking at the smoking crater that had once been a house party. "No." He closed his eyes briefly, feeling the stillness of the spirit in him. "The Lord gives strength to his warriors. I only do as he wishes." She squeezed his hand. "Then thank God for choosing you." "Amen," Mace added, then winced. "But maybe next time he could save my house too. My insurance definitely ain't covering this, So you think I can stay at your place for a little bit? Since I don't even have a house now." John almost smiled. But then he heard a disturbance in the air. Multiple choppers incoming. Military, not police, so he turned to the group. "Listen carefully. What happened here tonight? You're too drunk to remember. Don't admit anything," John said. "The military will come up with their own version of what happened." "You think I don't know what to do?" Mace responded, slightly annoyed. "You ain't the only one who served." "They'll cover it up," Chantel asked. "They always do." John's jaw tightened. "How is the military getting here before the local police?" Chantel wondered as she looked up at the sky. The sound of the choppers getting louder. "They're likely the ones that shot it down." John responded. Mace held up a hand. "Listen, I got this. You go take care of your injuries. Chantel, make sure he gets to a hospital." "Are you sure?" Chantel stepped closer. "You don't need us here?" "Go," Mace commanded. Both he and John clasped hands. "Be safe." John lost his balance a bit, the loss of blood finally getting to him. Chantel wrapped his arm around her shoulders to keep him steady. John smiled as he felt her warmth. "You were right earlier. About not carrying the weight alone." She smiled, understanding. "Come on, let's get you stitched up. We got church tomorrow, and I'm not serving in the nursery by myself," Chantel said. He chuckled. "Count on it." He kissed her forehead gently. The helicopters were getting closer. John took one last look at the group, at the lives he'd saved, at the woman who saw through to his heart, at his best friend who'd just had his whole world view shattered. Then he turned, vanishing into the smoke-filled streets of South Central with Chantel. Behind him, the fires burned on, and somewhere in the night sky, he knew there would be more ships, more battles to come. But John wasn't ever alone. God was with him. Did you enjoy today's adventure? Stay tuned for next week, where we follow the next hero as they overcome impossible odds. Want to be in our next story? Leave a comment with a description of your hero and see if you're selected.